Rachel Maeng Brown, the powerhouse CEO and founder of GEN Agency. If you're an influencer looking to land brand deals, a brand looking to maximize your influencer marketing strategy, or just curious about how this industry works, you won't want to miss this. Rachel has built a groundbreaking agency specializing in NIL, name, image, likeness, and influencer marketing, helping creators and brands unlock new opportunities. As an Asian American woman breaking barriers in a male dominated space, she's turned her unique perspective into a competitive advantage. And today, she's sharing her insights with us. From her journey as a Big Ten student athlete to leading a trailblazing marketing firm, Rachel knows what it takes to stand out, scale, and succeed in the influencer economy. Get ready to learn about brand partnerships, influencer strategies, and how to thrive in this fast-growing industry. Let's get into it.
Okay, so this is interesting. We were just talking about you being half Filipino and half Korean, but you don't speak as a word of Korean. Okay, how did that happen?
So I'm originally from Korea, but I was raised in Syracuse, New York. It's about, at least the city I was from is like 89% white. So my parents also being white, it was very sheltered. I would say it was like very safe, but we didn't have a lot of like culture. I was one of maybe five Asian people who were in the whole school district.
Wow.
So as a result, it was, just taking the culture and the things from people around me. But I didn't really learn anything about like being Korean or certain foods, certain, holidays to celebrate. So it wasn't until college, I think, when I was surrounded by more people of color that I really started adventuring out into, I do like this food. And like, I do want to learn a little bit more and celebrate some different holidays.
Okay. Did you ever ask your parents why you didn't look like them?
I can't remember a time that I actually asked them, but I have to say, I'm pretty sure like as early as maybe like kindergarten or preschool, I definitely noticed, being one of the only, not only just Asian people in the room, but probably the only person of color in that preschool, probably in that kindergarten. It's definitely something, I can't recall a time that was like that triggering moment that it happened, but I know that, it was definitely something I noticed. And I think even then I realized, that being different could have its advantages too.
Okay. What was your favorite part about it?
I think, just being one of the only people of color, like you do stand out. And I think there's a sense of like resiliency and adversity that comes with that. And I think a big part of my career is what I learned as like a child, as a young adult, even today, of being one of the only people of whatever, intersectional diversity piece that you are. So whether it be like a woman, young, Asian, person of color, whatever that is, I think a lot of that was learned when I was younger and then understood to make it a benefit to myself,
right.
Whether it be like starting a club or, being that key person that, hits that DEI check mark. That's not new to me.
Yeah. Okay. So you said that you want to go to Korea this time and probably like meet your birth parents.
Potentially.
Yeah. So can you describe to us, you were telling me about it, like it can take 8-9 months or something.
Yeah, so there's a movie that Danny Lee, the artist, stars in, where she also, same thing, was adopted. She had no contact with her birth parents, specifically her birth mother, and then she goes through the process of trying to contact her. In this case, the mother did not want contact, and then at the end of the movie, like, I hate to spoil it, but they make contact.
Okay.
And so yay! It's so funny because that process I didn't know was universal. As I was deciding to go to Japan and Korea for a vacation, I thought like, hey, like, let's go see where I'm from, the town, potentially, whatever like foster facility that I lived in for a little bit. And I found out the process is you contact the adoption agency, that you fill out all this paperwork. They essentially request your birth parents. In this case, would be just my birth mother, to see if she wants to get in contact with me. If she says no, like there's nothing they can do. If she says no, they won't pass over any information. So I think, as I start to at least try to take some time off work and plan on going to Korea, I'm definitely interested to see like how that process is going to be. Not only going through it, but I think psychologically too. Like I've lived my whole life in America, and if we did get contact with my birth mother, like we don't speak the same language, we don't have the same culture, and so I think it'll be eye opening too to see like that was a whole side of me that just never happened.
Okay, are you prepared for her to say no? For her
Yeah,
to say
people keep asking that, and I think my family now, my parents, like they are my parents, and that's how I truly look at them. So I think the opportunity to be my birth mother is exciting, but at the same time, I'm not like, this isn't going to, I think, change how I feel about my family, about my life. If anything, like I'm more grateful. I think it would just be a great addition. But I'm sure if it comes to that, where like she does say no, I'm sure like there will be some emotional fallout. But I'm very much like a learn by fire person, so I won't know until it happens.
Right. Okay, but the thing is that you don't spep the language. So are you
so we
taking
need
classes?
an interpreter. Well, I'm even if I knew things, she might go off on some rant, and I'm like, I don't like. Could you just speak into the microphone? Like, could Google Translate tell me more? But yeah, that's definitely going to be like a sticking point for us.
Yeah, it's such a difficult language, but I have to say it's a very, very beautiful culture. Great food.
Yeah, I'm excited about the street food, the ramen, like in Japan, and then Korea. I've been slowly like identifying places to go eat. So that's definitely like top 5 things I'm excited about going over to Asia.
Okay. So do you know exactly when you think you're going to go? Like the month or something?
No, it was supposed to be the end of this month, but I'm supposed to be going to Vegas for an artist residency to help out his team. And then I just signed a fighter who's transitioning from UFC to boxing. I just got back from Super Bowl All-Star. So
wow.
Yeah,
you're busy.
Yeah, the travel plans just like keep changing and keep changing.
Okay. All right. So let's get into your work. You said some very, very cool things. So first, and also this is the first time I'm encountering it. So this is also an education for me. So you are involved in NIL.
Yes.
That is your specialty. So name, image, and likeness.
Yep.
Can you tell us about it? Like, okay, just so this is your brand of influence marketing.
Yep.
Okay. So please tell us about what it is.
Yeah. So my roots come from sports, professional and collegiate. And then the other side is influencer marketing. So social media marketing. And really, honestly, the perfect blend of that is NIL. It's really that like name NIL is based off the 2021 NCAA ruling that college athletes can now earn money for their name, image, likeness. So that could be, them saying I'm a athlete at Rutgers, an elite athlete playing in the Big Ten. And I'm also doing coaching on the side. Students can pay for my sessions. So they're using the platform of being a college athlete, but also the university and the NCAA position to make money. So that's essentially where that comes from. The NIL marketing side is interesting. Like this industry has completely blown up. It's so much bigger than what it was 3 years ago, what people could have thought it could have been. Really, our side is we do 2 parts, right? So my agency, Gen Agency, we go in and we help universities by helping their athletes, their athletic department, their staff, even the local brands, like understand how to do NIL or influencer marketing in their school. We help them understand, for the athletes at least, how to create this content, how to go viral, how to replicate, things like that. And then the brands teach them about, audience demographics, engagement on a creator's page, like reasons why they should use them. And then my other company, Gen NIL, we just launched recently. We're raising our pre-seed. It's a sports tech product, and that actually facilitates the whole process of pitching brand deals, receiving them for the athletes, and then running the deals and then sending them back out. So it's kind of like for us, we're servicing one side, and then we've got the tool to actually let the schools be able to run it themselves.
So it's a platform.
Yes. So the Gen NIL, that is a tech product, a platform.
Okay, so it's a platform. So it's like a do-it-yourself thing. So
Yeah.
the brands are already there, and it's just a matter of matching or finding your match.
Yeah.
And everything happens online.
Yep. And even now, there's marketplaces, which I'm not a huge fan of because, marketplaces are great because it has a brand that comes in and puts all these advertisements or jobs, let's call it, on a marketplace. These athletes apply to them. There's some sort of benefit, whether it's cash, whether it's trade for a product, things like that. But there's not a ton of education as far as how these athletes should make the content. It's just, hey, make the content, we'll pay you. There's really nothing about, these are the best tips on how to make the content. These are our brand guidelines that we want you to stay away from. This is like a trending sound or a trending hashtag that may help the post do better. So there's really none of that other side of education that makes good content. So I'm kind of not for marketplaces, but essentially that's one of the ways that people can find deals.
So the brand deals that you're pushing, is this long-term brand partnerships, or is this a one-time make a 16-minute video?
Yeah, it's both. Some brands really, really buy into just running a social media campaign. So paying creators, whether they're athletes or influencers, to post online at that one moment. So they may be launching a product or they want to do it for Black History Month. Some brands pretty much rely on that. Some have more of kind of like an always on, it's called, format, which means you work with specific creators all throughout the year. You just get their content live at certain moments. So it may be Black History Month, but then it may be a product launch. Then it may be they sponsor an event in the summer, so you're posting about that. That is honestly the best way to do social media marketing because the one-offs, right, you don't really know this person, you don't know how their audience will do. Repetition and authenticity, is better for the actual client.
Okay, so when you help, let's go through the process of it from the beginning. So for example, somebody approaches you, an athlete, and say, okay, I'm interested in doing any kind of partnership. What kind of help do you provide them? Or is it you just being the middleman and everything falls on them?
It kind of, it depends on the client. So our influencers and our talent, we can manage. So we do have exclusive talent, non-exclusive, and our creator community. Exclusive, obviously, we handle all deals. Non-exclusive, we only handle the deals that we bring in. And then creator, it's more of if a brand comes to us and says, this is our budget. We're looking to reach this, ideal customer, their age, their gender, their location. Can you find us talent who will reach that? Then we'll go through that creator community of about 6 million creators. And we'll find the creator that has that audience and then contract them and work out that brand deal with them. There are also some, key talent, whether they're professional athletes, whether they're artists, that it's kind of more of a like always on style of they may become an ambassador of a seltzer product, or they may just, host an event at Super Bowl or something like that.
Do you advise them if it is an exclusive deal? Do you also advise them on what they can or should do in order to snag more brand partnerships?
Yeah, definitely. I think, the reason why, a lot of the reason why like people will do these brand partnerships is to eventually get more, whether it's with that same company or with a new one. The best thing that creators can do, whether you're an influencer, an athlete, an artist, is, push out your past success. So let's say, a talent creates this great partnership with Kellogg's. It goes well, they get 10 million views on the video organically, and then they use it for ads. You can take that success and showcase it by using a pitch deck, showing who your followers are, who the followers are that the post reached, who the new audience is, how many clicks, downloads, etc. Repurpose that in a pitch deck and then pitch that to a competitor like Unilever or something like that and say, hey, like, look what I did. I can do this for you guys too.
Okay. So just an odd question. What is the usual thing? You've been doing this for a while. So do you know when you spot somebody, do you know instantly like, okay, this athlete is a good athlete and will be a good brand partner? Or this athlete is a good athlete, but not a good brand partner?
Yeah, there's definitely, whether the clients are like the talent or if they're a brand or an entity, you can right away honestly tell. And I've been lucky that I think, in the years that I've been doing this, I have enough experience to kind of separate the two. we've had some talent that we had them for quite some time and then we ended up parting ways, good or bad. One could be like they don't fulfill a partnership correctly and it could ruin our relationship with a brand client that we're servicing on the other side. In a positive way, some of our talent, we're boutique. Some of our talent leave for like the big guys like CAA, Wasserman, or they even go to another agency who, let's say this creator is Spanish speaking or has a specific niche that this one agency services and services alone. So they're just a better fit. So there's cases like that, but there's some talent, excuse me, that we work with that we don't work with again. They were great for that campaign, but maybe they didn't get their deliverables in on time. They were difficult to get edits from. They didn't follow the timeline. Same thing with brands. A common problem in the brand industry is that brands actually don't pay on time according to the contract that's been signed. That's like talent agnostic, industry agnostic. It's just something that happens often. And, there's a lot of reasons. It could be because a brand puts the money in escrow for the agency or the brand operates off of a different payment timeline, whatever it is. It's like a very common thing going on right now. And so that's like another reason why we may or may not work with a brand or a talent.
Okay. So what do you think, if you can identify one or two things that makes an athlete or an influencer not a good brand partner?
I think it's almost professionalism per se. It's also kind of like that motivation to learn and do better and want to do more. I think, a lot of people can create a good following. A lot of people can create an audience, can create a platform that they can speak from that people can listen to, but it's what do you do with that? And then, what do you want to do in the future and how do you handle yourself in the opportunities that will get you farther?
Right.
I think there's been times where talent said something they shouldn't have said or did something they shouldn't have or just completely stopped, working on a project they were supposed to be working on. And that just makes it so difficult on our end to continue to advocate for them and to get them more deals because now brands do, in a sense, and talent do too, actually, blacklist people in the industry. There are certain clients, like certain brands, that won't work with certain talent. There are certain talent that won't work with certain brands.
Right.
So it goes both ways.
Okay. So and what kind, I guess the same thing for brands. What kind of brands do you think you don't like working with? You don't have to name names. You can if you want.
You're like,
I'll
who's
believe
on
them.
the hit list? It's, I think we've been lucky that we've had a lot of great relationships with brands. And it's because a lot of our brands come in as relationships, whether it's my relationship, a creator relationship, or a mutual connection. So there's kind of a personal service side to it in that, we know about each other. We've spent some time learning about how the other account executive or CMO or marketing director, like how they work. So I can kind of understand, how the conversation is going to go, what type of clients they're looking for. We have had some that were very, very demanding in that, they had signed a contract for X, they got X, but then they wanted Y, they wanted Z, and then they wanted to go back and change X. And, that's just not what talent marketing or just, marketing production in general is. So we've had both sides.
Okay. As a tip though, for example, if I'm an athlete or whatever, is there like any kind of frequency that I need to be posting on, any kind of tonality that you think will up my chances of getting a good brand partnership?
So I would say first and foremost, post as much as you can because every time you post, it's an opportunity to gain a new follower, to get a new view, for someone else to click on your products or for a brand to find you. So those are all the things that, posting regularly and just posting in general can get you. On Instagram, I would say probably 3 times a week. Reels is a little bit different. You can post pretty frequently. TikTok, at least once a day. YouTube Shorts, I would say about the same. YouTube in general, a lot of our creators are doing well right now, posting once a week. Snapchat, there's many different things. You can also have a verified Snapchat show. I don't know, there's Threads, there's X, like there's so many that you could go down. But at the end of the day, a brand works with a talent because they have the ideal customers demographics, right? So like the age, the gender, location, and they have enough viewership and engagement that if you apply a conversion rate, it's actually worth some money, right? Like, so if it's the conversion rate means they spend 200 and get 500, that's a good deal on their end. So there's a lot of, reasons why a brand will work with a talent, but posting just gives you the opportunity to find them.
Okay. You've mentioned conversion.
Yeah, marketing, yay.
Yay. So this is a huge thing for us because I do have a 9 to 5 and we work with a lot of influencers. And one of the main problems that we encounter is that they don't care about conversions. For them, it's like, you approach me, you pay me this much,
Right.
I do I deliver what you said, that's done and done. And for us, it's like, if you want
To get it again,
if you want a
or get
long-term
more.
partnership, yeah. And said, if you don't care about conversions, you're just going to be hustling for the next deal your entire life, and that's not the way to build your own reputation. So, okay, so is that a part of what you do to orient the influencers and the athletes about the importance of actually making business for the brands that they are partners with?
A big part of, what we do with our influencers is they're in every conversation. They are talking to the brand, they're receiving the feedback, they're even working with us too. We facilitate a lot of the conversations and like to explain to both sides, like, hey, this is the expectation from the other person. So, if a creator is in the middle of like a partnership and we're like, hey, the views were a little low, would you be open to reposting on this platform, or would you be open to engaging more in the comments or pinning a comment, whatever it is? So many of them are willing to do it if you explain the opportunity. A lot of times, I think some agents, managers, even some brands, they don't position it correctly, and vice versa. Sometimes the talent don't position, when they say, hey, like, I need to post it this time because it's the best time, or,
Right.
This CTA will not fit with my followers. Sometimes the brands don't listen. So it really is, it's both sides need to have an open conversation about like what will work best. But there's definitely, I would say, since the rise of social media and brand deals in like 2021, there's definitely so many creators that I think people don't have the understanding of how much of a business relationship it is. It's a quid pro quo. And if you don't fulfill your end, even though, yes, like it is, you made the video, but like if the video doesn't do well, if you didn't bring the business any money, you essentially cost them money. So they're not going to spend again with you. They're not going to say that they had a good relationship, say they had a good experience. So I think, as the creator economy, the influencer, the athlete economy continues to grow in marketing, I think that's definitely something that we need to continue working on.
Right, yeah. We're going to have a conversation after this because we're constantly looking for influencers. It's just that it's so hard to find somebody that would be willing to work with us, because sometimes we usually work a test period of 3 months.
Okay.
But if in that 3 months you don't adjust your approach,
Right.
then
And 3 months is a lot of time.
Yeah.
Creators
Yeah,
are posting daily, twice a day, once a week, whatever it is. Like, that's a lot of opportunity.
Yeah. Okay. So you mentioned managers. So usually these athletes and other influencers, sometimes they have their own managers. How then is your relationship with the manager? Are you dealing with the manager, or dealing directly with the athletes or the influencers? And the second question is, are they more of a headache, or are they actually helping?
It depends. I think it's very people specific and talent specific, right? Because if you've got a headache of a talent, like, great person, but does not have their stuff together, it's not going to make the manager's job easy, which is not going to make your job easy. And with some of our clients, like, we are the manager, the business manager, and brand deal manager specifically. So sometimes we're that person, like, hey, your artists, they're supposed to be here at this time, and surprise, they're here 4 hours later. We're not like trying to make that happen. There was nothing we could really do to speed it up, whatever, the case may be. And so I think that's like giving grace to both sides. Like, we're super aware of that. I think, though, there are some, especially in the NIL industry, the athlete industry, there are definitely some people who like overpromise, underdeliver. Say they do one thing, or say they've got access, or say they can get a talent to do something when like that's not the case whatsoever. And then, there's definitely some other people who like take advantage of an upcoming, draft pick, or even like a really good athlete at this day and age, who's, let's call it like top 20 in the NBA. They're being taken advantage of by their management team. And like, again, a management team isn't just a business manager. You've got trainers, you've got a lawyer, you've got an accountant, you've got potentially family and friends, spouses in there. So, the circle around high level talent is so big. There's just so many moving parts. Like, you almost have to be ready for the craziness and like, just anything to happen.
Right. Okay. So you did mention that you're still a boutique. You do want to become CAA someday, right?
So actually,
no?
I actually don't. Yeah, it's interesting. My goal, it's funny. I started out pre-med biomedical engineering in college. Went to,
okay.
Yeah. Went to a high school in which RIT, Syracuse, they're very close. So we take a lot of their college classes as like we get older in high school. And so my whole experience in high school was just taking college classes by the end. So I got a lot of credits out the way. I specialize in biomedical. So I thought that's what I wanted to do. Got recruited for rowing, went to Rutgers with my biomedical degree. Okay. 2 years in, my coach was like, your GPA is not great, honestly. And then second to that, I had spent those first 2 years like advocating for athlete rights and, training and doing things with the PGA Tour, with Team USA as interns. And, I started to realize like this was really my calling and this is more of what I was passionate about. And so from that point on, I switched everything into like, I want to create an entity that will advocate for my clients, whichever side they may be, and was more on like the media side and actually the brand deal side too, because NIL hadn't quite happened yet, but it was definitely like starting to be talked about. So it's crazy, here we are like 5 years later, and I've done that. Like, we've created an agency that is boutique that does those things. I think the bigger you get, the harder it is to service everyone. It's very much, if you've got an agency and you've got like the top 10 in one category, if you've got 10 more in that category, like if you're only servicing those top 10, if all the brand deals are going to that top 10, the bottom half you're not servicing at all. And I think that's really hard on the talent that you're signing. Like you sign with management with the expectation that they help you,
right,
that they are of service to you. And like when that doesn't happen, it's upsetting because they trust you. So I think we'll always be boutique. Additionally, our tech product, Gen NIL, that's really like what we're pushing right now, because the NIL industry itself, there's so many pieces, so many people in that pot trying to put their hands in and make money per se. But we're really trying to take all of the education and the expertise we have in the influencer agency in the brand deal economy into NIL. So that's really like my next baby. That's really my big thing, is getting this product out to all the schools, all the athletes, all the collectives, so they can service all of their athletes, not just the 1%.
Okay. So if you said that this is going to be your major push for the year, the Gen NIL. But right now, what are you specializing on the other side? Are you just doing, in terms of Geographic is what I'm talking about. Like, is it just LA or it's all over the country?
All over. We originally started in New York City, so we had a lot of talent there, but then we expanded into lifestyle. So almost all of our talent had some roots in LA. Others have gone back to where they're originally from, their hometowns, or have moved to other big cities like Dallas, Houston, Miami, etc. So our talent is all over. We have international clients too, and brands that we work with internationally. Some of our like fighters and athletes will travel and play internationally. So it's really like, it's quite a big reach for being boutique. And again, we have about 250 million followers across all the influencers we have in-house. And that's truly just, one creator may have 10 million, one may have 400,000, but aggregated, it's such a big reach.
Right. So you're ready, if you want to sort of remain in this size, you're ready for some of your biggest talents to eventually move on to CAA, or, you're ready for that and you're okay with that?
Yeah, it's we've had some talent again like move on to bigger agencies, and we still have great relationships. The great thing too is a lot of agencies in a sense are willing to do kind of like sister deals where if you bring something in, you split commission, so you're not leeching into taking more commission from the talent. And everyone in the industry knows at some point you have a limitation, right? Like there's something that you can't do that maybe someone else can do. And if it's for the benefit of the client, then that's the goal. And a lot of our brands, I would say, and sister agencies, sister partners, we have a really good relationship. And we also believe the same thing about helping the talent in the end. So we've been able to work with a lot of other agencies, companies where we kind of, tag team and work in the same space, work on the same things. But that's just the ecosystem. I don't think there will ever be like a CA or a Wasserman. A lot of agencies like of our size do get acquired by big agencies like that. And that's how they get bigger and bigger. It's to bring in more talent, bring in more resources, relationships, things like that.
Do you have an exit strategy? Is that in the horizon for you?
We do, but it's what's really cool about our tech product is that, that tech product itself is the product, but somebody needs to service it. And so the agency, for years, we've been running brand deals, we've been pitching talent. So all that expertise from our talent managers, we can apply into the tech product. So it's like, for me at least, it's a perfect storm that they both run so congruent and parallel to what both of them are doing. Mm-hmm. The agency will also feature the tech product as we transition into using that to manage brand deals. It's actually, the tech product is a full code version of what I built 3 years ago for our agency to run all of our brand deals. Okay. So this is just going to be like a full code, our own version that we'll deploy in different schools.
And you don't need to be exclusive to that platform in order to use it. Like, for example, any influencer can sign up and just find brand deals.
So we're not a marketplace. Really, the customer is like an agency, like a CAA, or a sports agency, like a Clutch, or a collective, which is a lot of times kind of like an agency for a university collecting brand deals, and then the university itself. So anyone that is affiliated with any of those three, if they're, school, collective, or agency has purchased it, then they're already in the system. We actually automate everything in the system, pitching them out, all those types of things. We are going to release kind of like a user version that will be its own version just for the student athletes, the the influencers, the professional athletes. They'll have their own version.
Okay. Have you ever said no to clients who want to sign with you in influencer?
Definitely, yeah.
Okay. What makes you say no?
We have a threshold. Initially we like to say 400,000 is a range that all of our brands that we work with, that's really where they go. We do get some niche asks for 10,000 follower creators or creators, follower agnostic. We just want them to, be in this space. But 400,000, I would say, is pretty much where we convert with our brand deals. And then sometimes things don't make sense. We signed a 17-year-old a year or so ago. His mom was in the room and asking questions. And we didn't know he was 17 at the time until she came in. We're like, do you want to come sit down? She's like, yeah, I'd love to. Just come sits down, talks shop, all that. And he was our youngest influencer, but he had great following. His, mom was his business manager per se, and all those good things. But there's talent that we just know right away, we don't have the brand deals for them. We know that our connections may not service the types of deals they're going into. And so it may not be the best fit. And as much as we could represent them, potentially get deals and say we have more followers that we can reach, it doesn't make sense. It takes away from the opportunity that they could have.
Right.
And ultimately, if that's detrimental to them, that's detrimental to the creator industry itself.
Okay. So you mentioned he was 17. That's an entirely different business now, because then, you need lawyers and you need...
Yeah.
So how did it go? If you
it went
found
well.
out that same...
Yeah, we actually, his mom, obviously a guardian, has to sign, but he did work with us. We got him brand deals. He's great. We love him. But, there's someone else who has, or multiple people who have kids that are under the age of 18 that have reached out asking us to manage them, find them brand deals. But brands have their own restrictions too. Some will not work with under 18. Some will not work with influencers who include their kids in the content. So there's a lot of stipulations, on that side. And even for us, we actually don't manage student athletes directly because we work with the schools and the collectives, the other side. And so it's interesting, like, having those conversations. But say that all to say, I've learned so much in the position that I am, and I'm so grateful. Like, I'm always willing to take phone calls with parents or with the kids themselves or with like another pro athlete and just give them the knowledge that I have, because that's how we grow the industry. Like, the knowledge I have, I've learned over experience, but someone had to give me access. And so I'm a big believer in sharing that access with people for the sake of growing whatever industry I'm in.
Okay. Have you had any horror stories working for brands? Like,
Yes.
this was not in the contract.
A lot. And I've had horror stories with talent too. I think, it's difficult when you're kind of playing both sides of the aisle, essentially, when you're an agency. Like, you're trying to service the brand, you're trying to service the talent. And I think that's always a tricky game to play. We've had some instances, and we've been, I think, really lucky that we've been able to patch over a lot. And also just, let the other side understand like what this person is feeling or this talent is feeling, vice versa with the brand. And we can always find something in the middle ground. At the end of the day, it's all business. There's always some sort of negotiation or somewhere to settle. We did have like one of our largest events. Funny enough, like, it was actually so stressful because it was our first largest event, our first, like, way back when we started, first 6-figure event, first 6-figure budget on an event alone. I like did not sleep. I worked so hard. I actually ended up in the hospital and went into sepsis and almost died.
Oh my God.
So this was like years ago. I'm fine now. Like, this is fine. I love sharing this story because other things have happened. But say that to say, it was just so much stress. There's like a cavity in your face, like right here, that's empty. And I had stressed so hard, like, I guess like bacteria got in there and like built a cyst. And so like, you can go on my social media and see this. It's like the whole side of my face looked like I got kicked by an elephant.
Okay.
And I pinched a nerve, like was killing the nerve, going through all of this. And I was still working, like, to the time that I was going on the table for the surgery, and going under them, trying to put the mask on. I'm like on the phone, like, to my previous co-founder, Joe, like, Joe, you need to close this deal. Like, I'm going to be under for 2 hours. Like, call me as soon as it's done. He's like, are you okay? Like, what is happening? And the doctor's like trying to take my phone. It all ended out fine. I was on bed rest. Obviously, I'm alive. I now have usage of that side of my face, so that was good.
Okay.
But say that to say, that was... not necessarily that the brand or the talent did anything wrong, but it was so stressful and so crazy. Like, that was such a huge eye-opening experience for me. Even now, I think when things happen, when talent doesn't fulfill something or a brand doesn't do something, or like I don't get any sleep because talent's, performing at 10 a.m. and walking the red carpet at 3 a.m. I take everything with a grain of salt now. I think it's just... I've been through some of the worst stuff you can in entrepreneurship, and I'm still learning to this day. So I think good or bad, like whatever experiences we have, like they've been learning experiences.
Okay. So let's get into some tips for those who kind of want to get into influencer marketing. If you're a micro influencer, and I guess let's define that, anybody with less than 100,000 subscribers. What are you looking at if you want to do a brand partnership? How much do you think you should be getting paid for a 60-second, for example?
It's interesting. I think we as an agency, because we work with the brands, we understand CPM models. We apply that when we pitch out our talent for their rates. And even, when we work from the brand budget, when we go look at talent, we base it purely off of CPM. There's some talent that their endorsement value per se, because again, there's a difference between influencer brand deals for your social media and endorsement marketing. They kind of tap into the endorsement, so they're getting more money than what their CPM would dictate them to get, but they're still collecting it, and the brand is happy and they're happy. So I think that really is a big part of it. I would say a CPM that a lot of brands are happy to work with is about $10. $10, I would say, if you're getting 100,000 views regularly, or even in the last 30 days, divide that by 1,000, multiply that by 10. That's probably a good budget that they're willing to work with you on. But, as talent in this space has grown exponentially, there's so many options. So like, you need to differentiate yourself from the other person who does the same exact thing and has the same exact followers. Like, what are you doing that's different? Is it that you're willing to work off of like a tier structure, right? Like, get paid X if you bring in this many clients, or get paid Y if you bring in the next level of clients? Or, are you willing to package videos together for them? Or are you willing to integrate it into other platforms? So I think it's, how can you service the brand, be a better brand partner for them?
Okay. Have you ever worked with clients who would like just rev share? Or is that something that, no, we don't
do that as much. I think there's definitely opportunities, at least on the agency side, the manpower that goes into it has to make sense for us too. So we do have that opportunity with a lot of like our larger clients, our artists, our professional fighters, professional football players, etc. It's not as common. And I think the big part of that too is like the buy-in. So talent, if they're really bought in on the product and they know that like they will sell it well, or they know that whatever clicks, things like that, like they know it'll go well, they're bought in, they're interested in the product, that's when that conversation starts.
Have you ever done ownership? Like, have you ever negotiated for something like that?
Yes.
If like, okay, this could be a long-term partnership.
Yeah. We've had, especially I think in the influencer space and the athlete space, right? Like there are so many investors that are people like Mr. Beast that had his, let's call it his come up in social media and marketing videos. There's athletes who obviously like they understand the sports industry in that, even the athlete tech that we have, we're taking on sports investors, former athletes, current athletes, because they understand the need. They're living it every day. So there's definitely a need, and there's definitely brands and startups that want those types of things. Also, too, they're not paying cash. And like as a startup, you're cash strapped, but you're equity high. Mm-hmm. And if you have, again, that buy-in from the person, whether it be the athlete, the influencer, there's definitely opportunity. We're actually working with a tech product right now outside of our company that they're looking to partner with athletes and people in the space, media, entertainment, that are bought in and willing to take sweat equity. So it's pretty common. I think, again, it just depends on the brand, depends on the client.
Would you take a cut?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So we can, on our side, we can take a cut. The agency could technically take a cut. I could technically take a cut if it's a personal relationship. You do see it in the industry. I would say probably not as much in like the larger agencies. I would say it's a little bit more common in boutique.
Okay, got it. Is there so you were talking about CPM earlier, but different industries actually have different rates when it comes to CPM. Mm-hmm. So which industries are actually paid the highest and paid the lowest CPM?
So I would say the finance industry is actually paid the highest. The reason being is because what has to happen for money to be the goal per se, or like the trigger, is a lot more steps than like somebody clicking and downloading something, right? Like off the App Store. For finances, like if it's let's call it like an investing platform, a funded account is what their goal is. That means that the person has to click on the video, has to click on the link, go fill out an application, get their backgrounds checked, put in their financial information. That's a lot of stuff, and then put money down. Mm-hmm. So brands like that, when there's so many steps, when it involves those things, their CPM might be higher. It might be $150 per client that you bring in. But again, remember, because of those steps, you're losing people along the way. So, you might have 100,000 viewers, maybe 10 people converted. And so you're getting $150 for those 10 per people. For industries of just viewership, that's where the CPM is $10 or less. Because if you're doing Meta ads or Google ads, the CPM is super low. You can keep it very, very low and get good customers, good reach. And so when it comes to just viewership, they don't want to spend a lot of money on just getting people to watch something.
And what's the industry that pays the lowest?
I think it was anything that really just has to do with like you seeing something. And that means it's really hard to attribute when the final customer makes that action. Let's call it like purchasing a product in the store. It's hard to attribute like what that is, right? So like if you open up Instagram and you get an ad for Kellogg's, let's say Pringles, right? You get an ad for Pringles. You're like, that looks good. And then you go to Google and Google services you an ad on the website on the banner. And then you go on your TV and you've got a streaming ad. And then finally Grubhub you're on and it says, hey, you want to add like pavilions? We have Pringles. And then you start that order. So really, where was that trigger that told you to do that? And was the influencer even involved? Like you can't really track that. So because of that, they're spending money in all these places. Their CPM is going to be low.
Yeah. Finally, fashion.
Oh.
Everyone wants it, right? Athletes especially, because for some reason it comes together.
The tunnel walk, everything. Yeah.
So do they pay well?
Fashion brands?
Yeah.
I would say, honestly, there are a lot of trades in the fashion industry. Again, it's a product industry. So unlike a food and beverage product, unless it's like a Le Portier with Shannon Sharp or something like that, like it is the value that you're getting from it, you can buy. But also too, it's the exclusivity and the partnership, all of those things. So fashion does a lot of trades. We've worked with like men's clothing brands that are luxury, like we're talking $1,500 for a shirt, and like we'll do a trade with an athlete, or an athlete could put their name or have their name used on a product, and then they're getting some sort of rev share kickback or a cash up front. So that industry is a little bit different. Again, every single brand is a little bit different.
Okay.
That's what we see the most common, unless the athlete is starring in a commercial or something like that.
Okay. I've heard though for some that the fashion industry, especially the luxury fashion industry, they don't really pay well. It's just that a lot of influencers like partnering with them because it establishes their name. So like to be told, to be able to say that, oh, I'm with Dior or I'm with Chanel, it's like it increases your market value even though it doesn't give you a lot of money.
There's definitely a level of, again, like attribution of, I'm where I am in my career because of the brands I worked with, the people I know, the people I've worked with. And so that was a big thing for me when I first started out was, let me work for the PGA Tour, Team USA, US Rowing, Main Events Boxing, the New York Mets, Rutgers Football. Like, let me get these names on my resume. So those names almost like qualify you for the next thing, right? So when a company, let's call it like, again, Kellogg's, looks at a resume of even a regular person and says, oh, they worked with all these big entities. They've been through a background check. They know corporate procedure. They, have been checked out. They're legitimate. It gives you that ability that people will automatically already trust you and kind of feel like they know what work they're going to get from you. Okay. Same thing with influencers. If you've already been headhunted by like a notorious fashion brand, you've worked with them, they know at least that the content you create is at that level. So you're almost, doctored into whatever next brand is looking for those exact influencers. They know they can go to that list and get the same one.
Okay. All right. So if somebody approaches you and you know that like a new athlete, underage, let's say 16, just getting into high school.
I've had 8-year-olds parents approach me. So,
and so what, but this is a raw talent. But will become a gem in the future. How would you advise them to build their brands?
I think there's a lot of things. Number one, first and foremost, when I meet these parents of these like 8-year-olds, I'm like, does your kid enjoy what they do? Like, are they happy? Like, if they stop, are you going to like pressure them?
Yeah.
First and foremost, because you're kids, like you want them to enjoy. But in this age of social media and NIL and all those things, there's a lot of pressure. First and foremost to that, having like a good circle around you, like having people that really truly care about you, can lead you in the right direction. Eventually, even if it's then, like you need good legal advice. So you need a lawyer, you need an advocate, someone who can go over those contracts with you. You're eventually going to need an accountant or somebody, at least, let's call it like with a CPA, who can help you understand the tax implications of your deals. The equity, if you have it, that's a totally different filing than, just like a W-9 or something. So those, I think, those are non-negotiables. Those are things that you have to have. And then from there, like if you're looking into brand deals, you should have someone that facilitates those brand deals. But you also need to have someone that's teaching you, social media, let's call it. And it may be like an online course, or it may be an influencer or another athlete you look up to, but you don't quite know everything. And someone can teach you something. And if there's someone in the marketing space that can teach you how to grow more and more, and like you are a raw talent, and let's say you're going to get drafted, this, if you increase your marketability because you have more followers or because you have great personality, whatever, those are opportunities that you're leaving on the table. That's money you're leaving on the table. Okay. And so I think that's kind of rounds out that last piece of, you've taken care of the difficult things, the family things, the mental health stuff. But like if you want to do the marketing side, that's kind of like the last piece.
Okay. In terms of certain brands have certain conditions on the type of people that they will work with. Right. Have you ever experienced having brands who just cut off a relationship with a talent because of either a scandal in their personal lives
Yeah.
or their political belief or saying just something not appropriate, or for the brand at least not appropriate.
Yeah. We're really lucky that we don't have any talent signed exclusively that does those things, but we have had clients that have been canceled for whatever reason. It could be something legitimate or not legitimate. It does happen. Social media goes viral. We've been really lucky, I think, in that sense, but I definitely have colleagues that manage, let's call it, more controversial talent. And so something could be seen, saw, done, that would make it difficult for them. But, we do have brand clients that can't work with half of our clients because they're family friendly, right? Like Coca-Cola. They are so family friendly. You can't have any cussing or swearing, anything inappropriate for the last 60 to 90 days. And so if a creator uses a trending sound that's got, something that's like kind of inappropriate, they can't use them. And so even things like that, it's eye-opening in the industry, like what the brand guidelines are, how strictly they're followed and interpreted, right? Because I would think this very clean influencer who just happened to use this, I don't know, like Sexy Red song, like on one post, like I thought they were brand safe, but apparently not.
Okay. Have you ever, before signing up a talent, do you actually go back to 15 years ago of their posts to
Definitely,
see?
we've got publicists, we've got lawyers, we've got accountants. So we do a background check. I also, as we send talent and our managers do, it's a relationship again. So you get to know them. You hear like what their expectations for deals are, what their expectations of monthly income are, the expectations of attending events, of partnerships they want. And again, it's building that relationship. But in that process, you learn a lot about them. And you can kind of predict some things could happen. And a lot of times they'll give you a call and say, hey, I'm about to do this really crazy thing. And I just want to let you know in case like we have something I shouldn't be doing this.
Right.
Or just so you know, in case it comes up.
Right.
So we get that too.
Yeah. Okay. So it's just interesting because a lot of I'm not into cancel culture or whatever,
Yeah.
but it's just interesting for me that a brand can go back 15 years.
Yeah, and find
ago,
something. I
and,
mean, like they pulled up tweets from like Kevin Hart that's been said, or like all these people that in the past they said something, did something jokingly or whatever it was. That's today we're more sensitive to how inappropriate that could be.
Okay, so this one maybe not really directly connected to you, but maybe just based on your experience. A lot of these young athletes, especially, earn a lot of money very early. Yeah. So, do you? Or even influencers, what do you observe about how they manage their money?
I think it depends. I think what's crazy is that this Gen Z, Gen Alpha, like they're very financially literate. And surprisingly, even though there's all these statistics that comes out, at least what I've seen, they're super financially literate because so many more brands and schools are putting in these rules about financial literacy education. And then a lot of brands, like in the app, they have videos on financial literacy. There are TikTokers out there. We had a bunch of them who, dish out personal finance, information about taxes, whatever it might be. So I think there's definitely a lot more information out there. I think, these kids, let's call it like truly that get money, let's call them like under 30, right? Get a big amount of money. They don't know like what you can write off and what you can't write off, how you can save yourself some money, how you could donate things, how, you should be splitting a 3 and 3% through like Roth IRA and IRA, like things like that. They just don't know. And that's, again, where having the right team around you, someone who can tell you those things, who can educate you while also maybe doing it for you. That's such a huge part. But again, like just like, Floyd Mayweather and these other athletes and, stars, like they can lose money very easily off of trusting the wrong person.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of that.
And that happens, yes. And there's also the kid side of, you get your first check and you blow it on 2 trucks and a chain. And that happens a lot too, honestly, because it's your money. Like, you do what you want. And, I think something that a lot of people also don't understand is like the familial side of it. A lot of these athletes, these artists that suddenly have their big check, they're coming from disadvantaged areas. Like you get a lot of athletes from low income areas in Florida, in Texas, in New Jersey. And so they've got all this money. They go back and they want to help everyone in their family pay off mortgages, pay off school debt and all of that. And they can get so caught up in the not only their desire to help the family and the people that brought them up, but the expectation that the family members and even the community has on them. Like, you had this money, like, we supported you as the high school, so we want a new gym. You know, like, I'm your cousin, you got money and I don't have money. Like, you're safe, you're fine. Like cut me a little check and like let me do my thing. Like And you know, it's just such an immense amount of pressure that these young adults, and even, you know, as you get older, there are adults who are like 40 at the end of their careers dealing with this same exact thing. It's crazy.
Yeah. How about the future? Now it's all about TikTok, YouTube. Where is social media influencing headed? Metaverse? NFTs? Where is it headed?
I think all the above. I know the buzz for NFTs has kind of like dipped quite a lot. We had some clients build their own NFTs, mine, like crypto and all those things. So I got to learn a little bit about that. I'm definitely not an expert and I couldn't talk to it if I wanted to. But say that to say, it's, you know, social media has always been around. Influencing paid influencers has always been around. Like, look at mommy bloggers on vlogs, on blogs, on Facebook, you know, long form YouTube channels, all the above. So it's always been around. I think that technology dictates it a lot. You know, new products, new platforms allow for new opportunities. You know, the introduction of live streaming, right? Of like being able to be on all these platforms of gaming, and now you can live stream. There's cameras that go on your like shirt, all these things. I think that changes up things just by opportunity. But I think at the end of the day, like, there will always be influencers doing something, reaching people that there is some sort of money or some sort of product in exchange.
Would you advise your clients to establish themselves in the metaverse? Buy a property, metaverse property in the...
I think I'm not as well versed in it. I did, you know, the NFL did a partnership with this metaverse company called Melon like a year or so ago, where they actually had a quarterback simulation game in the metaverse in Roblox during Super Bowl. And so you see big entities dipping into it. You know, luxury companies have built their own stores in the metaverse. I think that's definitely a great way to go. It all depends on audience. Like, who are you trying to reach? Because in Roblox, like, the demographic is relatively young. There are adults in there too. But it's all about like who you want to reach. I think, you know, with Red Note, when that people started switching to that, when TikTok was going away, air quotes, things like that. I think there's always opportunities that you can capitalize on. But at the same time, like, you can't possibly run yourself ragged trying to do everything. So, as much opportunity as there is, I say go where the opportunity makes sense.
Okay. All right. So I guess as a closing, if they want to be signed with you, if they want you to represent them, what should they do? How do they get in touch with you?
Yeah. I think first and foremost, again, talent-wise, social media-wise, we do have a 400,000 follower minimum. I think also having a clear understanding of who your brand partners are, where you want those you know, brand deals to go in the future, and what you want to do with your platform. Again, if it's, you know, you're a commentator on social media, you want to become an analyst, that's a clear pathway. We can, you know, direct that career and brand deals, relationships that way. We unfortunately don't sign student athletes, but we do offer education through their school, or you can schedule office hours with us too. I'm always happy once a week to meet with people and talk them through those things. And then you can find us on social media, the internet. It's just genagency.co, no M. And then as far as the tech product goes, we're building it right now. We're in our pre-seed, raising our first investor round. We have 4 schools that are signed on to be our, you know, our first adopters, first users. So those schools will get it. And then we'll be launching and traveling the country as that goes all this year.
But why not work with student athletes? You said you don't work.
Yeah, we don't. So we work with them. We just don't sign them as their exclusive management.
Okay.
You know, there's some stipulations with the NCAA as well, as far as, you know, getting your accreditations. There's different states need different legal things. Different schools need different agent accreditations, all of that, number one. Number two, we work with the brands. We work with the school. We work with the collective. We work with the agency. So it's like with NCAA specifically, it can be a little complicated. There are many rules and they're always up for interpretation. So we always try to stay on a level of it that may not be an issue in the future if the ruling does change.
I hope you learned something from it. Rachel is such an expert and she's so articulate. She has so many inputs. I She's such a valuable source person. So I hope that you really enjoyed that conversation as much as I did. I will continue interviewing people, experts. So if you have any request, any type of expert that you want me to interview, I will search for them. I will invite them for an interview, and I hope that you can subscribe to my Patreon because in the next set of interviews, I will actually be live streaming the interview, so people can watch live and they can actually ask their question real time, and it will be an unfiltered one. Okay. Also follow me on X and on Instagram. And also, the website is very, very close to launch. So I hope that you go to asianentertainmentandculture.com and just bookmark the page because once I'm very close to launching it and then we're moving on to the next project. So I'm happy that things are moving. All right. And I'm so grateful that you guys have been with me. You are the secret to all of this. Without your support, I will not be able to do all of this. All right. Thank you so much, and I hope to see you in the next episode.